Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to be reviewing the JJRC JJ Pro P130 Battler racing quadcopter. This is a 130 size, 130 millimeter little racing quadcopter. It looks pretty cool, looks very durable and small. And what we're going to be doing is I've already kind of done the unbox, but I'll just show you what comes in the box and do a little inspection setup and go ahead and get out to the park today, do a little flight test pros and cons as well in the same video. So first of all, let's just go through what comes in the box. Of course, here's the controller. It's kind of like that FlySky Ready to Fly. This is a Ready to Fly version. It comes with everything you need, including the battery as well to get started. So it's a complete package. And it's kind of interesting that they're coming up with these little pre-built guys, ready to flies that are really in the kind of pro racing realm, and they're getting pretty good at it. So anyways, let's get started. And in the box, this is the one I got, the kind of green camo version here. Coming out to the other side, there's also a blue version, and that's kind of how the blue version looks, kind of like a digitized camo look to it. Anyway, what comes in the box? There's basically just these two foam compartments here, and the controller was in this compartment. You get a power plug for your charger. That's really all there is in here, and then there is a little Allen wrench there for to work on it. That's all there is in that little foam piece. And then in this foam piece, this is where the quad was. You got your instruction manual, little top pad piece, little Velcro strap for your battery, and this is what the battery was in, just this little padded bag here. And then you get two sets of props. So pretty cool getting two sets of props in there. Here's also the charger. That's everything that's in there. So charging equipment, here we can do 3S, 2S and 3S charger, just a basic, it's a B3 charger. Does 1, 2, or 3 cells. And that's everything there. It did come with a US adapter. A couple other things, there's a couple of more different camera mounts in the box here. So you got different ways to mount your camera, and also I guess if your camera breaks off, you got some spare collars here for your camera. There were two sets of propellers. One was in this bag. I already kind of mounted them up, and they give you a whole nother set, so that's great. So three bladed props, and I think these are like 3 by 45, 3045 props, 3-inch props. So anyway, and then here's a little bind plug for your controller. Now when you get this guy, these antennas, the receiver antennas, are just kind of wrapped up in the bottom here. So what I'd recommend doing, kind of like I did, is strapping a couple of zip ties here to the back on this little hole, and then going ahead and shrink wrapping the antennas in here at kind of this, this little Y angle here, and that'll give you much better range. And they won't hit the propellers, you know what I mean, unless it crashes upside down, and it should be fine keeping these guys up. So that'll give you much better range. The whole thing is pretty nice and tight, where you have the everything is zip tied nice and tight. I'm trying to remember if, yeah, so I had to route the receiver antennas up and through here. So that's what I did, is I just followed this power cable and then routed them up and through here. But anyway, really easy to take off and on the propellers with this wrench. You just pop it through the prop nuts. 1806 2300 kV motors. We got our little receiver here on the bottom, a little FlySky IA6 receiver. Real cool how they put this sticky kind of foam padding to cover all this stuff up here. It kind of keeps it nice and clean and nice and tight. And you don't have to worry about little bumps and scratches and anything kind of scratching on the bottom. You can see here they do have the ESCs from the motors on the bottom. And here's a flight controller in the middle. I'm trying to remember what kind of flight controller this was. I forget what it is, but it's either a CC3D or a Naze 32. I can't remember which one that is. But anyway, really nice and tight, really well done. You can see the carbon fiber is this nice and thick X pattern carbon fiber. Then there's a little thinner one on top for the top plate. A little bit of con here that I found was the camera. This thing was mounted, this little plate here was mounted the other way around, and I couldn't get much angle on the camera, so I had to reverse the plate, take off these screws here and then remount it inside. And when you tilt it up, the back of the camera is kind of hitting the frame, so maybe a little bit of something JJRC can work on with their little pro copters, their racing copters. So I kind of had to retrofit this thing in to be able to get this angle, and this is kind of the maximum angle I could get, which seems to be about 25-35 degrees of pitch on the camera. Taking off the front camera, it is a pretty good camera here. Got a wide angle lens. It's like 120 or 150 degree lens, I forget what that is. And then you have your right hand polarized cloverleaf antenna are all built into the top. So the range on this might not be too great. I think this is a 25 milliwatt, if I'm not mistaken, transmitter, the VTX. There is a little button here on the side of the camera where you can change the channel. I believe it's 32 to 40 channels you can change. And so what I'll be doing is I'll be using my little Fat Shark FPV goggles with this in conjunction for the review. When we do our flight test, I'll be recording that, and so you can see what I'm seeing when I'm flying along, just like all my other reviews. Anyway, here's the battery. So it's an 850 milliamp 3S battery with a XT60 connector, and the way you mount this is you just kind of butting it up against the antenna a little bit, putting it on with a Velcro. A little bit of another con here is I wish they would have included like a strap like this, because the strap they give, that red strap, it just does not hold this thing in very tight. What I did notice is this one does not have a low voltage beeper, which is kind of a big con nowadays in my book. Usually when you buy these, they have some kind of built-in alert when you're getting low voltage, you should come in and land. So what I'm going to be doing is I just bought one of these 3S little mini beepers, minimal weight, it's only a few grams. So when I am flying, this will beep when the voltage gets low. Anyway guys, enough about this here in the living room. Let's go ahead and take this thing out to the park, do our full-on flight test, get the video up on the screen, and see how this thing does. So let's go fly. Alright guys, so we're here at the park with the JJ Pro little 130 Battler, and gonna put this thing through a thorough test and do a quick little line of sight, and then I'm gonna pop on Fat Shark goggles here, these guys, and do an FPV test, and I'll be recording the video in the goggles so you guys can see what I'm seeing. I only have one 3S battery that fits this guy, so I'm gonna try to use this real quickly in the line of sight, just real fast, do a couple minutes, maybe a minute or so of line of sight testing, then switch over to FPV, pop on the goggles and do that. And then I also have this other 4S battery that I wanted to test on this. I know it may not take it, but you know, let's just do it anyway. So little 4S, let's see if this thing can take the voltage. Somebody's got to test it, so I'll volunteer this guy to test, see if it can take 4S. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and turn on the power on the controller. Make sure all the switches are flipped up, and then just go ahead and power on the drone. Alright, cool. So that should be pretty much it. Just do a quick little line of sight flight, and then do our FPV. So to arm this, you're just holding the throttle stick to the bottom right for a sec, and then you'll have power to the props like that. So let's go ahead and take off. Ooh. Okay, it looks like I'm in acro mode already. See how when I hold the controller to one side, it just keeps going, the right stick. So I want to kind of get into a different mode, if I can remember what that is. Is that it? No, I'm still in acro. Maybe this one's just pure acro. I kind of forget. Yeah, it looks like this one's just acro all the time. So I'm not seeing any self-stabilizing mode on this one, at least in this one I got here. I haven't hooked this up to, you know, software to make any adjustments. This is just out of the box. But anyway, here it is. Really slow yaw rate. You can see how slow that is. Whoa, let's get back. It's a little tough to fly a line of sight acro mode for me, but anyway, that's what we can expect. Let's just do a quick little punch test from like a hover here to a punch. So not that great. I heard this one's a little slow and not much power on 3S. Again, punch. That was full throttle up and not much punch at all. Anyway, let's bring it under the tree, out from under the tree here, and do a little flip real quick, just to see how quick it flips out of the box. So full throttle up and a flip. I'm gonna go a little high. Yeah, whoa. Okay, so you can expect this to be pretty sluggish. So that hit pretty hard, but I'm seeing really nothing wrong with it. Just a little bit of dirt on the propeller there. Not seeing any bent props. And I went ahead and disarmed when I had the throttle stick down for a bit. So I shouldn't have to worry about the prop starting up unnecessarily. Anyways, that's what we can expect for a line of sight. You can see how I couldn't even really do a flip there. So out of the box, this thing's really docile and slow, it seems. You could already hear that kind of low voltage beep. That's because the battery kind of ducked below its voltage for a sec when I punched it. You see this bar here. When it crashed and hit, this bolt seemed to get a little bit loose. So let me go ahead and tighten that bolt up. I'll just go ahead and tighten all these up. This looks like there's only 1, 2, 3 standoffs holding the whole top plate with the battery on. So may not be the best for hard crashing. Anyway, that was just a quick little line of sight. I know it wasn't much, but I just want to save this battery for the FPV, and then we'll try the 4S as well. There we go. All right. So right away I'm seeing we've got some pretty bad, whoa, already crashing. So it looks like the power on this is really limited. It didn't even have enough power to really pick up. So let me go retrieve that. Let's try the Papa 4S in it, see if it works. Okay, so honestly virtually unflyable with the 3S they have on their stock. So a little bit disappointed in this one, very underpowered and doesn't have much punch at all. It can barely lift itself up. So anyway, I got the 4S in there and I do have video on the screen. Let me go ahead and start recording that FPV. Now keep in mind I don't know if this is going to blow up. I got power. Let's go ahead and lift off and see how it does. So immediately noticing much more power with 4S. Okay. So apparently this is acro mode only on this one. There we go, much better. Okay, this seems like how it's meant to be. You can see how much better this is. Let me try to do a flip. I gotta go high on this one. Nice. So it definitely is working much better on 4S, as you can see. We don't have that video problem with all those lines. Alright, cool. And apparently this can handle the 4S so far. I think that was the question with some reviewers, if it could handle 4S. But it seems like it's doing okay for me. I'm getting way ahead above myself, so it's kind of getting some break up. Nice. Okay, so far so good on 4S. I'm gonna reserve comment, negative comment on this. I'm gonna take that back. On the, at least on the, with the 4S on it, because it's doing really good with 4S. I'll go ahead and do a couple more. Full throttle up, flip. Okay, so you can do flips, but it's just very very slow to do flips. So I wouldn't recommend doing like acrobatics with this out of the box. Just keep it regular flying. Know what I mean? Oh, okay, so there's a crash for you. Alright, so let's go and get this guy and see what happened to it. Okay, wow, so pleasantly surprised. This thing is a completely different animal with this 4S pack. This is just a Nanotech 850 milliamp 25 to 50C 4S battery. and this thing is awesome with this. Well, pretty awesome. I mean, you know, it's definitely got much more power and actually works how it's supposed to on 4S. So wouldn't recommend 3S at all. Anyway, before we do any kind of pros and cons, let's go ahead and just assess any damages. What I'm noticing is props are fine. I went ahead and just slammed into this tree pretty hard and the battery flew off and it hit the ground over there. And really the only problem I can see is this rear standoff. The bolt here, the screw kind of got stripped out of the aluminum, so I kind of have it in there holding together, but that's kind of the only con of this one for crashing. It looks like everything's going to be very tough except for this back single rod here, so I'm probably going to want to put a longer screw in here. The screw is a little bit short and it's stripped out. Let me just pop this 4S back in here, and let's just go ahead and finish up this battery till we hear the beeping and get a little bit more flying time. So let's go ahead and try this again one last time with the 4S battery. See what we can do. Yeah, so this one is a definite 4S must on here. And you can see it's actually pretty quick. Whoa. I do have a patch antenna on these goggles. This is the Menace RC patch. Whoa. So it's not so great behind me or over my head. I heard the battery beeping when I punched it there. So I'm just gonna stay a little bit more in the park here. Oh, there's a crash. So it looks like I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits on this one. Pretty good, but let's go ahead and retrieve that and give it like a little pros and cons. Okay guys, so let's do a little pros and cons on the little Battler 130. This 3S battery it comes with, it's pretty lame out of the box, just being honest here. Unless you're a full-on beginner, which this may be good for. I mean, it's definitely durable. So maybe if you're a beginner and you want just something that's ready to fly out of the box, comes with a controller, you just have to get your own goggles. This may suffice for you. When you get a little bit better, pop a 4S on there. But really with the 3S though, it's underpowered, it has video issues, and it just seems like it's very tough to fly, very wishy-washy. Once I pop this 4S on here, it really opened the thing up. It seems like it needs this to really operate, you know, with the FPV and everything working properly with the 4S. And it had pretty good punch. It flew pretty good. You could see how I smashed it into this tree once and it flew down there, and then I crashed really hard over there in the park because I kind of lost FPV. Maybe the FPV camera is a little bit underpowered, or I think what's happening is when you get a larger battery like this, you see how it's really blocking the signal. So that's a little bit of a con there, just the kind of the design of this whole thing with blocking the FPV there. But props, super durable, everything very durable. Only con on the integrity of it is this one post here on the back, which I actually went ahead and zip tied. I super glued this and then I zip tied it even more together to hold it on. Couldn't really figure out how to put a Velcro strap all the way underneath, because you can see how close the propellers come, you know, to the inside, and I didn't want that Velcro strap to get hit. Propellers actually kind of go through the middle of it and just over the battery power wire, so wasn't really an option for me to take a Velcro strap all the way down to the bottom for the battery. But as you can see, I crashed so hard on the park over there, I actually ripped this battery strap off and everything. The low voltage beeper and the battery were way off in the distance away from the quad. But besides that, it's definitely durable. Didn't break any props or even bend them. It's crashed pretty hard a couple times, so that's kind of what you can expect. Out of the box with the 3S again was a no-go for me, but once you pop a 4S, and I think some reviewers didn't think this could handle a 4S, but apparently it can handle a 4S, at least in this one flight I did. I'm not sure, you know, prolonged use with a 4S, how these electronics would hold up, but it seemed to wake this thing up with 4S. Anyway guys, hope you liked the review. Again, I do a lot of reviews like this on my channel, so go ahead and check it out. I think you'll enjoy it, and I hope you like the review of the Battler. Go ahead and subscribe. You'll see a lot more reviews. I also do giveaways on this kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.